There are weddings, and then there are weddings that come with hurricanes, Secret Service details, and a guest list that reads like a who's who of American politics. On November 12, 2022, Tiffany Trump, the youngest daughter of former President Donald Trump, married Lebanese-Nigerian businessman Michael Boulos in a glittering ceremony at Mar-a-Lago, the Trump family's private club in Palm Beach, Florida. On the surface, it looked like a fairy tale, a president's daughter marrying into a billion-dollar business empire. But behind the scenes, this wedding almost didn't happen at all. A tropical storm bearing down on the Florida coast, a scramble to keep guests calm, and father supposedly furious over the timing all threatened to derail the big day. So, how did two people from completely different worlds find each other, and what really almost stopped them from saying, "I do"? Let's get into it. Tiffany Trump and Michael Boulos crossed paths in the summer of 2018 while both were vacationing on the Greek island of Mykonos. Tiffany was there enjoying time off, and it was in that resort setting that she and Michael struck up a conversation that would eventually turn into a 4-year relationship. Unlike some Hollywood-style meet-cuties involving mutual friends orchestrating an introduction, their connection reportedly happened organically in the kind of chance encounter that happens when two wealthy, well-traveled 20-somethings end up in the same exclusive vacation spot. From there, the relationship grew steadily rather than explosively. Tiffany was based primarily in the United States, finishing up her law studies, while Michael split his time between Lagos, Nigeria, and various spots across Europe where his family did business. Despite the distance, the two made it work, and over the following months and years, Michael slowly became a fixture at Trump family gatherings, including holiday events. His low-key, composed demeanor reportedly meshed well with the high-intensity, always-watched world of the Trump family, and by 2020 the relationship had become serious enough that an engagement felt like only a matter of time. To understand why Tiffany's path to this wedding looked so different from her siblings, it helps to look at how she grew up. Tiffany Ariana Trump was born on October 13, 1993, in West Palm Beach, Florida. She is the only child of Donald Trump and his second wife, Marla Maples. Unlike her half-siblings Ivanka, Eric, and Donald Jr., who were raised largely in New York and folded into the Trump Organization from a young age, Tiffany grew up primarily in California with her mother after her parents divorced in 1999, when she was about 6 years old. That West Coast upbringing meant Tiffany was largely shielded from the constant media attention that followed the rest of the Trump family in New York. She attended Viewpoint School, a private institution in Calabasas, California, before enrolling at the University of Pennsylvania in 2012, the same school her father and sister Ivanka had attended. She graduated in 2016 with a degree focused on sociology, law, and urban studies. During her college years, she also dipped a toe into fashion and entertainment, interning at Vogue and releasing a pop single in 2011 that didn't make much commercial noise. After weighing a possible career in music and entertainment, Tiffany pivoted toward law, enrolling at Georgetown University Law Center in 2017 and earning her law degree in 2020. Coincidentally, the same years her father was running for and serving as president. Throughout her father's time in the White House, Tiffany kept a noticeably lower public profile than her siblings. While Ivanka took on a formal advisory role and Eric and Donald Jr. ran the family business, Tiffany made occasional high-profile appearances, including a speech at the 2016 Republican National Convention, but largely stayed out of the political spotlight, focusing instead on finishing her education. So who exactly is the man Tiffany fell for? Michael Boulos was born on August 27, 1997, and comes from a wealthy Lebanese-Nigerian family with deep business roots in West Africa. His family runs a large, diversified conglomerate based in Lagos, Nigeria, with interests spanning vehicle and equipment sales, retail, and construction, a business empire built up over decades and now stretching into other markets across Africa. His father, Masud Boulos, has taken a leading role in running the family's operations, and Michael has spent much of his adult life being groomed to eventually take on more responsibility within it. Despite the scale of the family's wealth, the Boulos family has traditionally kept a fairly low public profile, especially compared to the kind of attention Donald Trump's family attracts. That's a big part of why, before his relationship with Tiffany became public, most people outside of Nigerian and Lebanese business circles had never heard the Boulos name. Michael was raised largely in Lagos but educated internationally, giving him a blended upbringing across Africa and Europe, an upbringing that, by many accounts, prepared him well for stepping into the very public world of the Trump family. Michael proposed to Tiffany in January 2021, in the final days of Donald Trump's presidency, in a private moment at the White House. Tiffany announced the engagement publicly on Instagram on January 19, 2021, sharing a photo of the couple and writing about how honored she felt to celebrate the milestone at the White House. Michael posted his own announcement shortly after. The engagement ring, widely reported to be an emerald-cut diamond, quickly became a talking point in fashion and celebrity press, with outlets estimating its value in the seven figures. Following the announcement, both families publicly expressed support for the match, with the Trumps welcoming Michael and the Boulos family embracing Tiffany as part of their own. Nearly 2 years after their engagement, Tiffany and Michael were married on November 12, 2022, at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, the same property that had hosted countless Trump family gatherings over the years. The ceremony and reception were, by most accounts, exactly what you'd expect from a union of two wealthy, high-profile families: an outdoor ceremony, an elaborate reception in the club's ballroom, and a guest list that included Donald and Melania Trump along with Tiffany's siblings Ivanka, Eric, and Donald Jr. Ivanka reportedly served as a bridesmaid. Michael's parents and extended family also traveled in for the occasion, representing the Nigerian and Lebanese side of the celebration. Reports at the time described the couple originally planning for as many as 500 guests, though the final count on the day was closer to 250 due to complications in the days leading up to the wedding, complications that very nearly upended the entire event. Here's the part of the story that made headlines beyond the usual society pages. Just 2 days before the wedding, Hurricane Nicole slammed into Florida's Atlantic coast. What started as a Category 1 hurricane battered the state before being downgraded to a tropical storm, but not before it forced the closure of schools, airports, and theme parks across several Florida counties, and for a tense stretch, the closure of Mar-a-Lago itself. According to reporting from Page 6 at the time, the club shut down just as pre-wedding events were getting underway, forcing the family to cancel a planned welcome dinner and a golf outing for arriving guests. Staff reportedly had to leave the property, even as some guests had already arrived for the week's festivities. With flights getting canceled and travel across the region disrupted, there was real concern that out-of-town guests simply wouldn't be able to make in time, which is one reason the final guest count ended up well below the couple's original plans. Adding to the tension, the timing collided with the immediate aftermath of the 2022 midterm elections, a period during which Donald Trump was reportedly in a difficult mood. Between the political backdrop and the very real threat of a storm bearing down on the venue, the days leading up to the ceremony were, by several accounts, considerably more stressful behind the scenes than the polished photos from the big day would suggest. In the end, Hurricane Nicole shifted course enough that it didn't make a direct hit on Mar-a-Lago, and by the time November 12th arrived, the weather had cleared enough for the ceremony to proceed largely as planned. Tiffany and Michael exchanged vows outdoors, Donald Trump walked his daughter down the aisle, and the reception went ahead with a father-daughter dance and toasts from both sides of the family. What could have been a washed-out, half-empty wedding instead became a story about a couple and two families pulling off a lavish celebration despite a genuine last-minute crisis. Since tying the knot, Tiffany and Michael have largely split their time between the United States and Europe, staying relatively private compared to some of Tiffany's more publicly active siblings. Tiffany has spoken about wanting to expand her involvement in philanthropy, while Michael has continued working within his family's business interests across Africa. As with any high-profile couple connected to a former president, their public appearances continue to draw media attention, and speculation persists about whether Tiffany might take on more visible public or political role down the line, following in the footsteps of her father and older siblings. Whether or not that happens, the story of how their wedding nearly fell apart and came together anyway has become part of their history, proof that even with unlimited money and connections, sometimes it still comes down to a hurricane, a scramble, and a bit of luck. What do you think about Tiffany and Michael's story, the storm, the last-minute stress, the fact that it all came together in the end? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.